Okay, not sure if this is working, or if anyone can see. If someone can hear me or see me, like, can you type a comment? Is that something you can do? So I just want to make sure that this is working. Oh, someone sent a like emoji. I hope that means that this is working and that people can hear me. Oh, great. Thank you, Anna. Wow, this is so cool. I've never done a live reading before, so I feel a little nervous. I usually feel better when it's actually, I've never done an online reading before, and I feel actually a bit better when I can see the people in the room, so I know that my jokes are working, or that people are understanding or responding to what I'm saying, but hopefully this will go over well. So I will be reading from my forthcoming full-length collection called A Cruelty Special to Our Species. It's going to be published on September 18th. It's the official publication date from Ecco. And right now I'm just figuring out what readings I can do with the book and the final edits. So that's very exciting. I'll be reading from my review copy, which looks like this. It's going to be hardcover when it actually comes out, but you can pre-order the book now on Amazon, the HarperCollins website, or anywhere else where you can order books. Okay, so it's 6:04 CST, so I think I will start my reading. And if I need to speak more loudly or more clearly, just let me know in the comments. I want to make this a little higher. Oh. It's hard to crop up this thing. Okay. Alright, here we go. The first poem I'm going to read is the first poem of the book, which is called An Ordinary Misfortune. Mine is the jam-packed train, the 2-week cocktail, the statement by an American man at the bar, your life in Korea would have been a whole lot different without the US, meaning be thankful. This question by a Canadian girl, a friend, why don't you guys just get along? The guys, Japan and Korea, meaning move on. How do I answer that? Move on, girls on the train. Destination, comfort stations. Things a soldier can do. Mount you before another soldier is done. Say, drink the soup made of human blood. Say, the Korean race should be erased from this earth. Tops down, bottoms up. Things erased, your name, your child, your history, your new name, Fumiko, Hanako, Yoshiko. Name of the condom, charge number 1. Name of the needle, compound 606. Salverston means an arsenic to save. Ratio 29:1, 29 soldiers per girl. Actual count, lost, all. Shot, everybody. Give thanks. So that's the first poem of the book. Obviously, this poem introduces the subject matter of a lot of poems in this book, which is the history of the comfort women. And the comfort women, the former comfort women that I talk about in this book are mostly, well, actually, I guess all of them are living in South Korea right now. And I believe there are fewer than 40 former comfort women alive in Korea right now, at least those who have come forward and address their history in public. The average age of the comfort women in Korea is 90, I believe. Comfort. On Wednesday, I ate plain yogurt, opened a notebook. Vivaldi as I folded my laundry. It was his birthday. On Wednesday, it rained. On the succulents, on the surviving women. Tricked or taken, carted to Japanese soldiers. The condom said, attack number 1, rinsed for reuse. On Wednesday, I listened to The Four Seasons. It stopped raining. It never stopped raining. On Wednesdays, it rains for the children they bore, for the children they could not bear, for the children they wore. Give them this day. Give them Vivaldi, violin. Give them the all-girls choir. L'inverno, come and gone. All 4 seasons, come and gone. On Wednesday, nothing happened. Rain evaporated, and so did the concertos. Wednesdays ago, the women, the girls, clutched each other. Who will live? Who will leave? Who believes this life? The world will be better after you and me. Is the volume okay? What am I going to read? Switching gears a little bit, I want to read this poem called Hello, Miss Pretty Bitch, which was something that somebody said to me in New York as I was walking around in K-Town. And this dude yelled it out in Korean, and he wasn't Korean, so I'm guessing he just like picked up some words and stringed it together, and maybe not knowing that it meant hello, Miss Pretty Bitch. But that's what triggered this poem. Hello, Miss Pretty Bitch. The street drummer calls out in Korean, no doubt thinking it a compliment, a pleasant surprise, cinched with red ribbons for Christmas, the day select theaters will gift us with The Interview, a comedy in which 2 American journalists ignite Kim Jong-un's face. Freedom has prevailed, the film star Seth Rogen says about the release. The same was thought at the time of Korea's release from the Japanese Empire, though then the Korean War began, and compared to war, what's so bad about a movie? Anyway, even war can be funny. And now a drummer in New York says, you got a smile that could light up the whole town, though I'm not smiling, thinking about villages and cities of what became North Korea set on fire, sending puddles of twilight into sunless skies as if flames could stab. But his freedom of speech prevails. Freedom always prevails, which is why we get to see 2 Americans incinerate a Korean face on Christmas, hold our popcorn and chocolate bars, and laugh as the dictator explodes in tune to a pop song. Laugh as American soldiers would laugh at Korean children chanting, hello, hello, giving me chocolate. With wartime hunger, laugh as they choose which face to light up. Okay, and I want to read a couple poems from a section in the book called Testimonies, and each section has its own title, which is a former comfort woman's name. And so each section in this big section is a poem made out of the woman's testimony. Okay. Which one? I think I'll read about 2 of these. I hope you're all having a good summer and a good day. Okay. Let's read this one. It's called Kim Sang-hee. Kim Sang-hee is the name of the comfort woman. Kim Sang-hee. I was 14 years old. It was around November 26th. It snowed. I remember. I was on my way home from the photo studio with my portrait when a man in olive-drab clothing grabbed me by the collar, cursed in Japanese. Was he Japanese or Korean? I could not tell. I was thrown onto a truck of mournful sounds of weeping. These girls and I crossed the border into China. There was no poison, no ropes. In Suzhou, I was number 4. I was Takeda Sanae. The first night an officer grabbed me, I drank disinfectant, but I didn't die. In Nanjing, I had malaria, appendicitis, hemorrhage in my vagina, but I didn't die. In Singapore, I saw dark-skinned men digging ditches. They looked at us as if they would burst into tears. In Singapore, the war ended. We boiled leaves from trees and wild greens. We ate this to survive. When I made it back to Busan Harbor, I went to my brother's house in Daegu. In his dream, I had shaved my head, was drowning in the ocean, but I didn't die. My name is Kim Sang-hee. I was born on December 20th, 1920. I was born into a good family. I am a Catholic. I should forget and forgive, but I cannot. When my head turns toward Japan, I curse her. I want to find solace, but I cannot. When I wake up every morning, I cannot. Park Kyung-soon. There was a man about 45 years of age with a mustache who told me to work for Japan and meet my brother in Hiroshima. The man said my refusal might not be good for my parents. The man and his men took me to Shimonoseki. I was led into a room. I was told to take a bath. I was told to take off my clothes. I only begged that I meet my brother. When they finally took me to Hiroshima, my brother was alone in a big empty room. He asked if I came as a comfort woman, and I promised I would return to see him again. When flower buds were about to appear, I was taken to Osaka. In its room, I was number 10. I was then a comfort woman. I became so sick with syphilis, I could not walk. One night, an officer came and told me to get ready. I was in such great pain. The next thing I remember is arriving in Seoul. It was June 1945. Immediately, I had a miscarriage. The mustached man learned of my return, told me to return to the comfort station. To avoid the draft again, I got married. Our new life, a rented room. I could smell the odor of my weekly number 606. Arsenic for syphilis. My baby discharged pus from his ears, was called crazy. My brother returned home with burns and lumps all over his body from radiation, discharged disintegrated bone the size of teeth near his wounds. The Japanese soldiers discharge out of, charge into every room. Okay, I have about 4 minutes, so maybe I'll just read one poem to end the reading so we can slide into the Q&A. Alright, I think I'm going to read one of my greatest hits, which is called Bell Theory. I should know where it is in the book. Okay. Bell theory. When I was laughed at for my clumsy English, I touched my throat, which said ear when my ear said year, and year after year I pronounced the new thing wrong, and the throats laughed. Elevator, library, vibrating bells in their mouths. How to say azalea, how to say forsythia. Say instead golden bells, say I'm in ESL. In French class, a boy whose last name is Kring called me Belle, called me by my Korean name, pronouncing it wrong, called it loudly, called attention to my alien. I touched the globe moving in my throat, a hemisphere sinking, called me across the field lined with golden bells. I wanted to run and be loved at the same time, by Kring, as in ring of people. Where are you going? We're laughing with you. The bell in our throat that rings with laughter is called uvula, from uva, grape. A theory, special to our species, this grape bell has to do with speech, which separates us from animals. Kring looked at me and said, "Just curious, do you eat dogs?" And I wanted to end my small life. Be reborn, a golden retriever of North America. Lie on a field lined with golden bells, loved. Today, in a country where dogs are more cherished than a foreign child, an Oregon Senate candidate says no to refugees. Says years ago, Vietnamese refugees ate dogs, harvested other people's pets. Harvest, as in harvest grapes. Harvest, as in harvest a field of golden rice. As do people from rice countries, as in people eat dog worlds. Years ago, 1923 Japan, the phrase Jugoen Gojitsun is used to set apart Koreans. Say 15 yen, 50 sen. The colonized who used the chaos of the Kanto earthquake to poison waters, set fire. A cruelty special to our species. A cruelty special to our species. How to say jugo, how to say gojit, how jugo sounds like die in Korean, how gojit sounds like lie. Lie, lie, library, azalea, library. I'm going to the library, I lied, years ago, on a field lined with forsythia. Okay, I think that was my 15 minutes. Thank you for coming online to hear me read. I think it's funny when you're actually reading at a physical venue and poets say things like, "Oh, thank you for coming, even though it's very sunny outside and you could be spending time wherever," or "Thank you for coming despite, the rain or the snow or whatever." We're just, I think poets are just thankful that you showed up, that people showed up for poetry, and I'm really thankful to have had this opportunity and that you tuned in to hear me read poems in actual clothes that I sleep in, in the actual room that I sleep in. So it made the reading that much more special and that much more intimate. So also thank you, Sam and Anna, for having me. So I think it's time for the 15-minute Q&A if anyone has questions about the book, about the poems, about my life. Well, if no one has questions, I guess I could just talk at random until until someone does. Well, some of the questions that a lot of people do ask me involve obviously the subject matter of a large chunk of this book, which is, of course, again, the history of the comfort women. And a lot of people ask, oh, like, how did you come to write about that history, or how did you decide to, I guess, make that a project? And oftentimes my answer, my answer has evolved, but nowadays when I think about it, I think that I didn't really set out with these poems thinking that I'm going to write a whole manuscript about the comfort women, because I didn't really think I would write, I guess, this many poems. But when I was at NYU as an MFA student, I had friends that I talked about narrativizing history and using poetry as a medium to do so. Monica Sook was one of my classmates and a dear friend. And if you're familiar with her work, she writes a lot about the Khmer Rouge, Cambodian history, and of course immigration. And I turned to her a lot about like my anxieties about writing poetry, and writing poetry about history and culture. So I just like went to the library and did my own research, and I think I gravitated towards the comfort women history because, of course, there's the issues of gender and sexual exploitation, but also I was struck by how little people know about it, and it's such a controversial and heated matter in Korea and in Japan. It's still not really resolved because the Japanese government historically has tried to, I guess, not confront the history in the way that the Korean government, or the Korean people rather, and the former comfort women have demanded. Of course, there has been a lot of re-narrativization of history after the Second World War and after the Japanese Empire fell. Oh, there is a question. When is the launch date of the book? So my book will be published in September, on September 18th. So that's when it's going to be hitting the bookstores, I believe, although you can pre-order now. And I don't have plans to be in Europe right now, but if you have any opportunities that you can think of, you feel free to let me know, and I'll try to scheme. Okay, another question. Aside from reading other poems or any literature, what do you find fills your cup in order to write more? Yeah, that's a question that I get sometimes too, and that answer changes often as well. These days, I like to just I guess I'm trying to think of things that I do to get me writing, aside from just like things I do for fun. And reading is my greatest source of inspiration, whether it be poetry, like literary works, or not. Like recently, I was reading a lot about gender and sexuality studies in Korean and Japanese studies for my qualifying exams in my graduate program. And I feel like those are going to feed into my writing because it really completely changed the way I view history and how heteronormativity has really affected the narration of our history and the remembrance of events and the restructuring of cultural forms like theater. So I think that edification that I got from reading those scholarly texts are going to feed into my writing. I don't really know exactly how, because I'm very much focused on just getting this first book out. But I feel it in my heart that it's going to really transform the way I think about poetry and the way I write poetry. But aside from reading, I like to also watch films. I try to watch movies, like non-Hollywood movies, to just get visual inspiration and how images have been blocked up to tell a story and think about perspective. I like to watch Korean indie movies. I recommend the Korean movie Poetry. Of course, it's about poetry, but the storytelling is just so beautifully done. The story is a bit heavy, but it's told in such an understated and just calmly painful but gorgeous way that I think will also help me with the way I tell my stories in poetry writing, hopefully. And Maria's question is, are you familiar with the work of Myung-mi Kim? The theme of Hapyeong is prevalent in her work, and I wondered if you feel it present in yours as well, Korean history-themed poems. So I do know Myung-mi Kim's poetry. I don't think I am really well-versed in talking about her poetry because I need to read a lot more of her, and I haven't read all her books yet. But I am very interested in the way that she talks about language in her poetry, and how ultimately the untranslatability of the untranslatability between languages and by extension between cultures. I forget which book these poems come from. Maybe it's but there are poems with transliterations and translations of Korean, and they're very revealing poems about how the Korean language is visually and sound-wise restructured for the Anglophone reader, and how sounds are lost in that process. So I think I will really turn to her a lot about the way she thinks about language and translation in her creative works, and I actually plan on reading up on her a lot more for my own academic research. I'm interested in how Korean American women poets and Korean women poets of the 90s have turned to poetry as a medium to address issues of nationality, perhaps language ideology, and the relationship of personal belonging with those ideologies. So I think Myung-mi Kim will be very helpful for me later, creatively and academically. Okay, well, I think those are all the questions. Again, thank you so much for attending this online reading. I'm really grateful that you were all here. Thank you for all the questions as well. And lastly, my book is again called A Cruelty Special to Our Species, and it's coming out in September. So, well, thank you everyone again, and I hope you have a wonderful evening or the rest of the day wherever you are. Thank you.